They asked around and discovered where the secret store hid. When they arrived, they found security everywhere and no way they could sneak in somewhere else because the only entrance stood in the front. Morgan stopped to develop a plan when Kylie placed the sunglasses on her head and followed closely behind a person entering the palace of lies and theft. She barely made it in before the door shut tightly behind her. Once inside, she noticed the sword sitting in the middle of a table while mountains of money surrounded it. 5 men sat around the table arguing over who knows what when she realized she needed to distract them. She saw a window across the room and a plan formed in her head. The shaking heroine picked up a small rock and then threw it at the glass, shattering the window. One man arose and went to examine the sudden damage to the window. He looked around for a moment, found nothing, and sat back at the table again. The men started to talk, and Callie learned that these men were responsible for the kidnapping of her sister. She almost exploded with anger right there on the spot, but somehow she kept her cool. Picking up a handful of rocks, she started throwing them all over, breaking objects and screaming as loudly as she could. The men didn't know how to respond. They stood up and frantically ran around, trying to find the source of the noise. Callie dashed for the sword on the table and then booked it up the stairs, where the 5 men said the prisoner resides. She ran in, unlocked the cell door, grabbed her sister by the wrist, and headed for the door. They made it out the front door, but the 5 mysterious men followed closely behind. Morgan must have left the scene because he was nowhere in sight. The girls just kept running until they found an alley to escape into. Just as they thought they had made it to safety, the shadows of the men who kidnapped her sister appeared. Ashton rushed to hide behind a box. Callie picked up a handful of rocks with determination and took a deep breath. As the men walked by the box, she threw the rocks as hard as she possibly could and took off running with her sister. They didn't know if they hit the kidnappers, if they killed them, or if they just knocked them out. They just ran. When they got to the boat, Morgan sat there looking satisfied with himself. "Ah, I see you have completed your challenges. I am well pleased with you. Let us return home now." "Where the heck did you go? I needed help and you just vanished. Just get me home as safely and as soon as possible." Callie sat down with Ashlyn and fell asleep instantly. While they slept, Morgan Freeman teleported them back to their home. Once home, Callie began to understand why Morgan left them alone the previous day, and she expressed her thanks to him for getting her and her sister home in one piece. Morgan then left, and they didn't see each other again until many years later, but that story will be told another time. Life basically went on normally from there. Ashlyn grew up and started her very own successful business. Callie moved to a small town in Canada, and she shifted from saving lives and adventures to little acts of heroism in her own little town. Although Morgan Freeman wanted to pursue his career in finding heroes and helping them with their destinies, he decided to become an incredibly famous actor.